He's a wee bit to get on board, and we'll get this broadcast underway. Sweetie, can you give me a cup of coffee? He's a wee bit to get on board. Morning, folks. Morning, Jim, Stuart, Thomas, Hugh. Morning, Susie. Morning, Mark. Morning, Karen. Morning, John. Morning, Lorraine, Linda, Margaret, Robert, Nigel. Morning, Nigel. How's Australia? Diane. Morning, Stephen. Morning, Ian. Morning, Duncan. Peter. Ian again. Paul. Stephen. Kirsty. Nancy. Graham. Robert. Ewan. Norrie. Right, nearly there, folks. Morning, Rev of Wrestling. Morning, Struthers. Morning, John, Jackie. Scottish van driver. Tammy Gillis. Morning, Lenny. Morning, Sandra. Jane. Eddie. Who else we got? Morning, Stephen. Morning, Alexander. Morning, Eddie. Morning, Hammy. Right, that's 100 of you on board, so let's get this broadcast underway. Andy Tuck Davey out the truck, Nat home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is a beautiful morning, 16 degrees, and predicted to get as high as 18 today. I dare say it'll get a little higher. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look at your own bloody windy. We're going to get my Gregory Pex on, folks. We'll get this broadcast up and running. Morning, David. Morning, Vince. Okay, this is the news review for the 31st of the 8th, 2021. Wednesday started with two major themes in the rags: energy costs and A&E waiting times. All right. Now, on the energy crisis, a poll revealed that 82% of the UK public want the energy price cap and rise in October of 80%. Scrap and energy prices frozen where they are. If the rise goes ahead, 12 million additional homes face fuel poverty, or falling into fuel poverty. That would take the total number of households unable to heat and eat to 27 million households out of a population of 65 million people. All right, by the time the price rises again in January, April and July, it's estimated that 40 million households, which is probably about the whole of the UK, apart from the elite, will be living in fuel poverty. Remember, when it gets to £6,000 next July for your annual cost for energy, that would mean if you were making 60 grand a year, you'd be in fuel poverty. That would be 10% of your disposable income being spent on fuel. That, folks, is a bloody outrage. Thank you, Madam Director. That's my coffee arrived, guys. Right, okay, right. Now, also in the rags, opposition parties here in Scotland have a pop at the NHS over waiting times in Scotland. The cuckoos in the nest claim people are dying because of extensive A&E waits. Now, in the week ending 21st of August 2022, 26,017 people attended Scotland's emergency departments. 65% of these were seen and treated and moved on in 4 hours. 3,159 people waited for more than 8 hours, and 1,287 people waited for over 12 hours. Some NHS boards performed better than others, with the best performing NHS emergency departments were in the Highlands and Islands, Orkney, Shetland, and Tayside, and they all seen over 90% of A&E patients in under 4 hours. But the mean average across Scotland is 65%. Now, the cuckoos in the nest have a cheek to talk down Scotland's A&E services, as it's still the best performing A&E in the UK. The Tories in England, in England, things are that bad that the criminal cabal ordered Public Health England to stop publishing the numbers. All right, so we don't really know how bad it is in England. But we've had recent news reports saying it takes about 9 hours to get seen, between 9 and 12 hours to get seen in an English emergency department. Okay. Now, Labour-run NHS Wales are seeing 50% of patients in the 4-hour target. It's also at 50% seen in the 4-hour targets in Tory-run Northern Ireland. Why Tory-run Northern Ireland? Well, Stormont is not up and running and not operating, so Northern Ireland is under direct rule. So the NHS in England is that bad that the criminal cabal has ordered Public Health England no longer to issue the waiting time statistics for NHS England. In Wales, only 50% are seen within the a 4-hour target, and only 50% are seen the 4-hour target in Northern Ireland. Now, the target is to see 95% of patients presenting at the emergency department within 4 hours. So Scotland is still the best performing A&E, although it has got worse over the summer months. Even in the winter there, we were still managing 72 to 76% people being seen in A&E, but things have got worse. But you've got to remember, folks, the COVID crisis is not over, all right? There were 801 COVID patients in Scotland's hospitals last week, and 57 people died of COVID last week, and there was 3,856 new cases detected in Scotland last week. Believe it or not, folks, as we look back at my old iPads, and this time last winter, the numbers were lower. Winter 21 and 22 were lower, and we were in lockdown. So it would appear the cuckoos in the nest who are claiming COVID's over. Well, our Scottish Government are telling us that COVID's not over. They're no factoring in the fact that COVID is still a major pressure on the NHS. But as I say, things are that bad down the road in England that Public Health England has been ordered by the criminal cabal to stop issuing the weekly figures. That's how bad it is down that road. And as we've heard through the Tory hustings, we've heard Liz Truss talk about hospitals falling to bits down that road. Hospitals with roofs that are caving in down that road. Facilities that are dilapidated down that road. And she's going to fix it apparently. But the Tories have been going to fix it for 12 years. All they've done is run it down and get into a condition to sell it off. And that's exactly what they're doing here in Scotland with the pressures that they're, the cuckoos in the nest are trying to put in the Scottish Government. What they're trying to say is that the Scottish Government and Scottish Parliament can't run NHS Scotland. That will allow the criminal cabal down that road to take that away as a devolved power or a devolved competence. Then they can pass up your better NHS and sell it off and all. And you can bet your boots that was what will happen in Wales and in Northern Ireland too. Although England's got the worst performing NHS, that's by design, by the criminal cabal down that road. Started in 2012, David's already explained this, when they changed the Public Health Act to make the government down in England no longer responsible for the health of the citizens of England and Wales. There you have it. Okay. And the Herald yesterday tells us that the NHS won't cope with winter. David says, aye, it will. It always has, and it always will. The people that work in the NHS are extremely dedicated and wonderful people. Our NHS will cope. But, of course, we know the papers will try and say it won't cope. I'll put this one up for you to read, folks. Stephen says he can see COVID deaths sadly going up quite sharply into this winter as a side effect of the cost of living crisis, preventing folks from having a proper diet, thus making them easier targets for infection. You're absolutely right, Stephen. It was worth putting that one up. All right, the other team in the rags by the right wing loony rags is the Tories tell us that those evil trade union barons intend to hold employers to ransom to force them to pay a decent wage to hard-pressed workers. Now, heaven forbid that these trade union barons are successful in getting decent wages for their members. People are not supposed to be able to make a decent living. That's contrary to free market profiteering and a poverty creation. That's the Tory way. Now, so basically what they're telling us is that the trade unions and the people here in the UK standing up for a decent standard of living, standing up for a basic workers and human rights is wrong. That's what these right-wing Tory rags are telling us, that people fighting for a decent living for their families, their friends, are in the wrong. And that profiteering and creating poverty is what's supposed to happen. Wow. And that's exactly the wording of it. The Mail. Trade union barons hold country to ransom, sort of thing. Not holding anybody to ransom. As has been repeatedly pointed out by trade union leaders, while over the last 12 years, wages and cost of living standards have stagnated and gone backwards, profits and the big companies and the corporate giants have skyrocketed fivefold. This isn't a cost of living crisis, as you've heard, it's a cost of greed crisis. And Brexit has facilitated it. Okay. And according to the media unionist press, Scotland's economy to fall behind our UK's in 50 years' time because of ageing population. So the scare story yesterday was it's going to take 50 years for our economy to drop behind their economy because they have cut off our access to young, fit workers from the EU by ending free movement of people. So Scotland's population will age and decrease over the next 50 years because of the actions of the lunatics next door. And apparently, we're supposed to be scared that in 50 years' time, our economy will be doing worse than the English economy. Mental. By that time, we'll be out of the UK and free and back in the EU and trading with the rest of the world through the 80 trade enclaves that the Scottish government have set up. The latest one being the New Scotland office in Denmark, in Copenhagen. So all this crap about the Scottish economy shrinking in 50 years' time. Wow, is that how low they've got to go to get a scare story these days? Tell us our economy will be shite in 50 years' time if we stay in the Union. Wow, I guess they don't really get it. They're basically saying it's good, the Union will be fine. Mental. Moving on, Wednesday. The Wednesday start, that's us leaving the papers behind. All right. Oh, aye, where are we? So let's go back to the 50 years thing. So Scotland's economy to shrink over 50 years because unionists, knuckle draggers, voted to end free movement of people because, let's face it, they're racist. And the other thing about unionists is, unionists up here in Scotland and Northern Ireland and down that road in England, they believe that they are the people and the rest is are subspecies. What they tend to say is that they are the people, and if they are the people, that means the rest is are something else. What's interesting about that is that's promoted here in Scotland by Scottish Labour, that they are the people and the rest is are something else. How do we know that? Well, it was Scottish Labour that coined the phrase, Joanna Lamont to be precise, that we are not genetically evolved enough to make political decisions. Remember that one for 2014, the leaders' debates, where Joanna Lamont tell us all we're not genetically evolved enough to make political decisions. If that's not somebody calling you a fucking subspecies, then what is? Well, no wonder the Labour Party in Scotland's a fucking zombie party. Right, moving on. Wednesday started down that road with the only caretaker PM playing dress up again. Right, since becoming caretaker PM, Bojo has been an RAF pilot, an army infantryman, a tankie. He's also been a train driver. You know, the UK's falling to bits. and Bojo's playing dress up. All right. This time he's playing PC Pod and is battering down the doors of rappers in England. Right. Now, Splinter Sales said he woke up to find Bojo and the cops raiding his home. The hip-hop rapper says he thought he was dreaming. The rapper went on to say he thinks Bojo the clown was pleased to see him. Now, PC Bojo, the clown, apparently was pleased to see him. The rapper doesn't know why his home was raided, and that after the raid, nothing was found and no action was taken against him. So, poor rapper, whoever he is, I'm not much into rap music, but he apparently does say Splinter Sales, a London-based rapper, had his door booted in with the cops yesterday morning, and when he bounced out his bed to find out what was going on, he had Bojo the clown in his living room. Oh, mental. So now we know what the caretaker Prime Minister's doing with his time. He's playing dress up when there's no battering back and forth between here and here in Kiev to show his support to the Ukrainians. Mental. So there you go. Now we know what Bojo's been doing with his time. He's been playing dress up again. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and tributes are paid to Mikhail Gorbachev, who died. Mr. Gorbachev died aged 91. The world paid tribute to the man who ended the Cold War and he presided over the end of the USSR. Now, for younger viewers here, the USSR was the United Soviet States of Russia, and they were what was behind the Iron Curtain during the Cold War. So for the younger ones here, if you're not quite sure what the Cold War was, use your search engine. It was a fascinating period in time. I'm very happy to say I lived through it, and I'm very happy to say that I really enjoyed it. I had a fair time in Germany, and in 1989-90, when the Berlin Wall came down, the breakup of the USSR started, I have to say there was a huge sigh of relief when right across the continent of Europe, you could physically feel the sigh of relief go across the continent of Europe, especially for guys like Davey who were in the army at the time, and we were in the front line in the Cold War. So, the 90s, the beginning of the 90s and the breakup of the United Soviet States of Russia was a breath of fresh air to the world. And hats off to Gorbachev. Hats off to him. And James, you're saying it was a Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, are you? Well, you know, say it how you like it. Right, but what they were telling us in the army was it was the United Soviet States of Russia. Right, moving on. Wednesday, here in Scotland, NHS Orkney apologises to patients in Stronsay after a data breach by an NHS employee. NHS employee says the person is no longer in the employ of NHS Orkney says the person is no longer in the employ of NHS Orkney. NHS Orkney has reported the data breach to the Information Commissioner for investigation. So we'll keep an eye on that and see what the outcome is. Apparently, it seems to be one person who had been misusing people's data from NHS Orkney. So we'll see what happens with the Information Commissioner and whether this person ends up in court or in jail. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and the Bonaccord Centres in Aberdeen crashed into administration. The shopping mall owned by Guernsey-based Aberdeen 1 and Aberdeen 2 crashed into administration, citing cash flow problems caused by the pandemic, rising operational costs and intensive competition. Both Aberdeen 1, the Bonaccord Centre, and Aberdeen 2, the St Nicholas Centre, will continue to operate as the malls are prepared for sale. And you know what? There's a Davy says here. Davy says you ken your economy is fucked when businesses operating for tax havens can't make money. Because Guernsey is a tax haven. And if Aberdeen 1, the company Aberdeen 1 and the company Aberdeen 2 can't make money out of them malls while no paying UK tax, then your economy is really in trouble. Right, moving on. Moving on, Wednesday. And down that road, criminal cabal idiot and Deputy First Minister Dominic Raab tells reporter Cathy Newman that inflation is the public's #1 enemy, and that the other criminal cabal idiot, Rishi Sunak, is the man best placed to tackle inflation. All right, so get this right. The idiot Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab actually backs Sunak to fix the economy that he fucking busted. Sunak was one of the rattlers for Brexit, and Sunak was the Chancellor at the time of the crash of the UK economy. He drove it. Aye, James. So, for some reason, the idiot Raab seems to think the guy that orchestrated and engineered where we are at the moment is the guy to fix it. Well, maybe he is. Maybe he can reverse engineer. But I doubt it. It's not in their interests. So there you have it. But it doesn't matter. He's not getting into the hot seat anyway. Maybe he'll get another job as Chancellor to wreck the fucking place even more. So as we know, the Tory party will vote for Airhead, Liz nice but dim, but White Truss into number 10. Right, moving on Wednesday. And leaked Treasury documents show UK energy companies to rake in a record £170 billion in excess profits over the next 2 years. Bloomberg, who reported on the leak, say most of that excess profit will come from North Sea oil and gas. So much for its running out. Hey, anyone who thinks Scotland couldn't stand on its own 2 feet and flourish is a fucking idiot. All right, the Scottish children live in poverty while our nation is asset stripped for private profit. And we can thank our unionist friends here in Scotland for that. Short-termism is what they are. They're just populist, knuckle-dragging half-wits who have dragged Scotland into energy poverty and outright poverty because they were worried about the 10 pence in their fucking wallet at the time. Instead of looking at how rich our nation is and saying, hey, that 10 pence could be £10 in an independent fucking Scotland. Well, 1 in 4 of your children go to bed hungry. 1 in 4 of them go to school clean and dirty and unfed because you can't afford to put a washing machine on, can't afford to buy new school uniforms, can't afford to put a fucking lighter heating on, and can't afford to feed the kids. Thanks, unionists. That's what happens when you get shite education. Fucking idiots. Get your wee rant for the people. Moving on. Wednesday, and a friend of mine, Ruth Watson, reminds us how cruel this Tory government is, and that they will drive more misery upon us and drive Marys into poverty. Ruth cites an article in The Independent from February 2018, where it's revealed that Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab was part of a Tory Facebook group calling for the return of workhouses for the poor and an end to social housing for the poor and the sell-off of the NHS, ending free healthcare at the point of need. Know that they have free healthcare at the point of need down that fucking road anyway, at £9 for a prescription. That's another one of these dividends of the union aid. Because of the internal market bill, these fucking knuckle draggers have voted to sign this union. The internal market bill means the prescription charges are on the fucking way. I mean, tuition fees are on their fucking way. It's called levelling up the market. Well, in this case, levelling down to England's level. Yeah. Anyway, I have to agree with my good friend Ruth. But that's no surprise because Ruth and I are on the same page when it comes to watching the criminal cabal and their cronies while they impoverish our people. As you're all aware, I've been following the persecution of the disabled, or less abled, and the poor since 2012. I also predicted the persecution of the Romano community in the UK. And as we all know, now the police crimes, courts and sentencing bill down that road actually outlaws the Romano people's nomadic life in England. All predicted. You can see it coming down the road. And Ruth's right. They will drive more people into poverty. They really don't give a shite. You get a deputy prime minister who actually was part of a group speculating on reintroducing workhouses, scrapping social housing, and selling off the NHS. That's what's in power down that road, folks. That's the criminal cabal. And I thank Ruth for bringing it back to people's consciousness and people's attention. Oh, and Ruth, if you're watching, morning, Ruth. Be well since I've seen you. Look forward to seeing you again. Right, moving on. Wednesday down that road in Manchester, a mass protest takes place in support of striking workers and against the cost of living crisis. The people in England are starting to rise. The mainstream media didn't cover themselves in glory because, once again, they bloody well ignored the situation. Anyway, Eddie Dempsey of the RMT tells the crowd in Manchester, enough is enough. And it would appear that the trade unions are going to have to take a front foot in this one because Sir Comrade Starmer is a red Tory and he's no interested. Moving on, Wednesday, and it's reported in the news, talking about Comrade Starmer. Moving on, Wednesday, and it's reported in the news. Moving on, Wednesday, it's reported in the news that Sir Comrade Starmer of the red Tory cheat of the establishment arse was on the Jeremy Fine show where he was grilled on being a political con man who stole the leadership of the red Tory party by misleading the public. All right. Now, the accusation of being a political con man comes from socialist journalist and activist Owen Jones. Owen says Sir Starmer had ditched the 10 pledges he made while running to take over the red Tory party. The 10 pledges Starmer made and reneged on are as follows. 1. Economic justice, meaning redistribution of wealth. 2. Social justice. And that was to scrap universal credit and the sanctions regime. All right. 3. Climate justice, a just transition away from fossil fuels. 4. Promoting peace and human rights. No, he hasn't. Been top thumped near the Ukraine, same as anybody else. There you go. 5. Common ownership. Basically, he said he would nationalise utilities, and recently, as we all know, he said he would nationalise the power companies. So that's another one reneged on. Starmer is a conman and a liar, and he is a fully paid up and bought member of the establishment. The clue's in the fucking name. Sir Keir Starmer. Right, 6. Defend migrants' rights. He promoted full voting rights for migrants and EU citizens with settled status. Doesn't he have changed his mind on that when it comes to fucking immigration, eh? 7. Strengthen workers' rights and trade unions. And strengthen the trade unions. Funny that, eh? Workers' rights and strengthen the trade unions. The fucker's dealt his front bench to stay off the picket lines. He's distancing Labour for the trade union movement. In fact, Alison, oh Christ, I can't remember her second name now off the top of my head. Alison, her second name, I think it's Sharon Allison, is it? Is it Alison Sharon? No, Sharon Allison, or something like who came out of the Unite Union for when McCluskey. She turned around and told Starmer to grow a backbone and get his arse on the picket line. Starmer's not gone on the picket line. Starmer is a fully bought up and paid for, as you've heard me say before, member of the establishment. The clue is in the name. He is owned by the establishment. He is owned by the 1%. How do they own a person? Same way they own Ruth Davidson, the same way they own Keir Starmer. You know, a wee seat in the House of Lords for life when they're finished playing at politics. Aye. Or ennoble them for a so-called public service. Like no paying attention in the Sabo fucking case. When ultimately you're the head of the Crown Prosecution Service. Yep, he might not have done the work on the Sabo case, but he would have been the supervisor. He would have been the overseer. He should have fucking known better. He was, after all, head of the Crown Prosecution Service. Right, anyway. So, where were we? 7. Strengthen workers' rights and trade union rights. 8. Radical devolution of power, wealth and opportunity. No, that's not where he is. That shower of shite down that road, I've got no intention of. That'll bring us to Lord Frost in a minute. And a piece penned for the Spectator with Stephen Dearsley. Anyway, there's absolutely no way that any Westminster leader or any Westminster Prime Minister is going to make the UK a federal state. Just not going to fucking happen. And number 10. Provide strong opposition to the Conservative Party. Well, as far as I can see, and I've been watching, Sir Keir Comrade Starmer, red cheek of the establishment's arse, has been enabling the Tory party. Let's have a look at it. And when it comes to devolved powers, he enabled the Tory party. Didn't he object to the internal market, by the way, he should have. The man's a fucking liar. The man's a fucking con man. And Owen Jones and the head of the United Trade Union, the RNT Trade Union, they all can see right through him as nothing more than a placeman. A placeman of the establishment which has taken over the People's Workers' Movement. But that's been going on for a long time now. It started with Tony fucking Blair. Okay. Wednesday, Spectator, Stephen Dearsley. I reported on yesterday how Lord Frost was expected to take over the union unit. Well, anyway, according to the Spectator, the right way to deal with devolution is to centralise power in Westminster, and to rewrite the legislation to say that Westminster is sovereign, or the Crown is sovereign in Westminster, whatever way you want to put it. But basically what the article says, in order to be able to achieve that, you have to scrap Scots law. And you have to scrap the Scottish legislature. You see, Scots law is protected under the Treaty of Union. And in order to create a unitary state, you need to scrap Scots law, but you also need to scrap the Treaty of Union and rewrite something like the Constitution and things like that. People of Scotland are not going to sign up for it. People of Northern Ireland are going to sign up for it. People of Wales are not going to sign up for it because they won't, the international community won't fucking recognise it. So little England is on to fucking plums. Right, excuse the swearing words recently, folks. I don't mean to. That is part of my vernacular. I am from the west of Scotland. I am a truck driver, but I don't normally swear as much as this. But as you can probably tell when you listen to David and I, especially on the two TVs, we're starting to get really, really, really upset at what's going on. And we actually feel the pain that's coming, and it's not arrived yet. We actually fear for our people and our communities and our families this winter. So if I'm swearing a wee bit more than usual, folks, please excuse me. I can't help it. Some nights I'm in fucking tears, never mind swearing. Right, moving on Wednesday. Where are we? We'll talk about Lord Frost. Anyway, the idea is that they re-centralise everything and then realign the UK as a unitary state, getting rid of Scots law. Apparently, they're going to try and get rid of Scots law by 2026. This is when the legal system in Scotland has to stand up and defend its fucking self. And that's why Miss Bain, Dorothy Bain, should have signed that fucking legislation for a referendum here in Scotland. Because once it was fucking signed, unless it wasn't written correctly in Scots law, and I can assure you it would have been, there was nothing the Supreme Court could fucking do about it. Scots law and English law are equal to each other. In fact, the Magna Carta has no bearing in Scotland. They're so-called, the reason why they've moved from saying that the Constitution is reserved to saying that the Treaty of Union is reserved is because the game's a bogey on calling the Constitution reserved. Because as you know, that Constitution that they call a Constitution in England is made up of a English common law and gentlemen's agreements. English common law has no fucking basis in Scots law and has no place in Scots law. So the Constitution they were talking about doesn't have any fucking bearing in Scotland whatsoever. And the Scottish Constitution, I've put up description after description of it. The legal system's definition of the Scottish Constitution is that Scotland is a small, independent monarchy based on democracy. The Scottish Parliament's definition of the Scottish Constitution is Scotland is a constitutional democracy where the legal system and the people are the supreme power, because it's the people who vote in the legislators. So effectively the people are the supreme powers, and that's what we call sovereignty of the people. Now I have asked repeatedly, because people are talking about this claim of right being a silver bullet, I've asked repeatedly now of various people, how do we exercise that claim of right, that silver bullet? And of course, because your legal position is a constitutional democracy, then legally we have to have some sort of plebiscite. So all this pish about fucking the claim of right being a silver bullet is exactly that, pish, because of the legal definition of Scotland's constitution. It's a constitutional democracy. So therefore, any decision made by the people for the people must be done democratically. Wow. Right, moving on. Wednesday, and SEPA suspend water extraction licences in the east of Scotland, citing low river levels. Extraction has been banned from the Tyne in East Lothian, from the Yadan in Aberdeenshire, and the Lower Tweed and the Borders. SEPA says it's to help water levels in these rivers recover. So there you go. Apparently the water courses in the east coast of Scotland are running a wee bit low. Reservoirs are doing fine. Domestic drinking water and things like that's fine. It's just for companies and farmers who are drawing water out the water courses. They've been told, knock it in the head for a few weeks. Well, you guys, know that great when you want to water your brassicas for the winter. But hey ho. So there you go. Wednesday, it's reported that the Duchess of Balmoral will take the piss out of the Scottish people by accepting Boudreaux's resignation and anointing Liz Truss as PM at Balmoral. Now, as I say, the reason why they're saying the Duchess of Balmoral is ripping the pish by anointing the new PM here in Scotland is because we haven't voted Tory since 1955, so just under 70 years ago. And what basically the Duchess of Balmoral is doing is sticking her fingers up to us, apparently. But that's not the case at all. The wee old woman's fucked. She's knackered. She's a bit dead. She's come home to die. She is a Bowes Lion. This is where her family comes from. The Duchess is up in the duchy to die. Be lucky if she leaves Balmoral again. Alright. Anyway, and finally for Wednesday, the final Tory party hustings for leadership with Broadcasting, London Broadcasting Corporation. It's the last one of the race, but we already know who's won the race, don't we? You know, we know it's the white woman. It's not the coloured fella, it's the white woman. Let's face it, the Tory party, the 160,000 of them, tend to be middle class white and white supremacists. You know, maybe some of them are religious fundamentalists and all right enough, but hey-ho. Anywho, Trust Talk pish, and the Sunak seem to have given up on the race. The only thing I took from watching it on YouTube is that the idiot Truss will look to scrap speed limits. Between the idiot Sharp wanting to put car drivers in trucks and Truss wanting to scrap the speed limits, I'm glad I'm doing yard work. I'm glad I'm off the feckin' road, because with these idiots in charge, there will be carnage on the roads. Now, why scrap speed limits? Well, dead easy. People need 2-3 jobs to survive. They need to get between them quickly, or else they'll be late for their fucking shifts. Yeah, okay. Right, that's what I pulled out for yesterday for you guys. Alright, so let's have a wee look and see what the papers have to say. This one ran over a wee bit today, but hey ho, way it goes. So let's have a look. I haven't seen the papers this morning, folks. As you know, I like my reaction to them to be genuine so that you see them okay. Scottish paper, PM ceremony at Balmoral and hunt for tutor's body. New health concerns as monarch is unable to return to London for official ceremony. That's what I said. The Duchess of Balmoral, who's a Bowes Lion, has come home to die. Right, Queen will appoint new PM at Balmoral. The Edinburgh Evening News dumped in the wood, and that's police fear ex-Fetish tutor murdered and body hidden in England. Didn't know the borders were in England. Did somebody move the fucking border again? Right, the Herald has nurses in schools to close as pay strikes escalate. Tough, eh? They can look at each other and say, who's losing their fucking jobs? At this point in time, we've got more teachers per head, per pupil, per head, a capita in Scotland than anywhere else. But if they want to push too hard, we can always do what they do in England, and that is scrap X amount of teachers so the rest of the teachers can get a decent pay rise. The Record has TikTok stunt killed my boy. Mum's anguish as Leon 14 dies, holding breath for challenge. Oh dear. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that one. The Scotsman has fears of even more delays to troubled Calmac ferries. Serious risk that delivery of vessels will be held up yet again, ministers told. So let's have a look. The Scotsman reports that ministers have been warned of a serious risk that could see the delivery of lifeline ferries by Ferguson Marine delayed again. The construction of Hull 801, named the Glen Sannock, is still behind schedule, with a reports warning of several serious risks to the project. They're still on the ferry shit. £3 billion fucking aircraft fucking a carrier makes it out of Portsmouth and breaks down about 2 years out. Mainstream media ignore it. Chances that there might be a ferry delay for 2 seconds in Scotland again, and hey ho, you know, all hell breaks loose. Well, guess what? They can say what they want, but when these 2 ferries are finished, I absolutely believe that Ferguson Marine will go on to produce many good boats for Scotland. The Metro has Brew needs to get a grip. Pub chain boss hits out at clueless zombie government as cost crisis shuts 6 bars. So a guy that owns a pub chain that's had to shut 6 of his pubs in order to keep the rest of them home. The eye has Tories urge Truss to act fast on UK energy hikes. Well, I don't think she's got any. We've heard her saying that she thinks profits are good and that this profiteering's all right. And you've just heard me read out what Ruth Watson was pointing out to us about what the Deputy Prime Minister thinks about returning workhouses for the poor, scrapping social housing, and selling off the NHS. Right. Now, the other right-wing loony rag, the Daily Telegraph, goes on, Putin's out to destroy the West. And the main headline, Truss hints she may axe motorway speed limits. Oh, for the name of Lord. Oh, Jesus Christ. Any idea how bad the fucking driving is out there already? That's why I'm off the road. I want to stay alive. The National has Scotland's brand opens up doors. Non-profit leaders who work in US Congress on policy stress our potential. So it looks like the Yanks are starting to get on board with the idea of Scotland being a world player. We don't do the Sun. So what we got now? Oh, hey, no bloody, no star today, folks. Oh dear, tragedy. Ah well, just need to live with the fact there's no star today. So there you go, folks. That's what I've got for you today. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it informative. I hope you take is it Brewdog Pubs, is it to close, Eddie? I hope you take I hope you found it interesting, informative, and I hope you found the delivery entertaining. Okay. James, I don't think I was called for it. A 14-year-old boy had died. Did he win? Did he win, for Christ's sake? Alright, where are we? The usual stuff. There is a campaign underway, folks. As we can see, we're getting happy Scotland shite, Scotland shite, Scotland shite, Scotland shite, you're shite. You're a subspecies, you're a sub-race, you need us next door to look after you, or that sort of fish, you know. You're skint, you're not capable, you're not genetically evolved enough to make political decisions for yourself. Brilliant. Anyway, the usual stuff. There is a campaign going on, so eyes on the prize. Partisan politics in your pockets. Eyes on the prize. Learn your how you going, get out there and win hearts and minds. Now, I've seen a lot of things barking about a new poll yesterday, but I couldn't find it. It says 58% in favour of independence. If you've got a poll dated in the last couple of days that says that, I'm going to stick it in the comments so I can see it. Thank you. Right, where was I? Aye. So, eyes on the prize, get out there and win hearts and minds. Okay, support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, support Independence Live, Indie Live Radio, support Caledon Media. Norrie does a great wee show there. Support True Radio, support the iScot magazine, support the national newspaper, support independent bloggers and bloggers. And I'll catch you later, bro. And if you've got a couple of shekels to spare and we've got a crowdfunder on the go, please throw them in the pot. I see my posters falling down, but here we go. The Indy 2 Cafe night. Oh, I don't know, I'll get up. I know that's a little bit unprofessional. But hey, I'm not a professional. The Indy 2 Cafe night in Holytown, the General Motors Club, 24th of September. Kicks off at 7:30. Ticket price is £10. And entertainment for Pete Scally and a rant for me if you're really good. And all the processes we're going to local charities, food banks, that sort of thing. Okay, so if you can make it along, please come along. Okay, on to health message. And you can contact, if you're interested in the ticket price of £10, contact Agnes Care at where are we? PayPal acare53@gmail.com. PayPal53 at what was that? PayPal acare53@gmail.com if you're interested in the ticket. Otherwise, pop into the Indy 2 Cafe Facebook group. It's an open group. Pop in there and say you want a ticket. Okay. Oh, and you can pay at the door. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for letting me know that. Let me remind that you can pay at the door. Now, but even if you're coming along, you're going to pay at the door, please contact Agnes because we can only get 120 people, 130 people into the room. Okay. Marvellous. Right, moving on. Health messaging. I've just told you the situation here in Scotland with COVID. 801 people in hospital, 3,000 odd new cases, 53 people died here last week. So the guidance remains face covering in closed public spaces and clean hands and surfaces regularly. Now it's guidance. It's up to you whether you follow it or not. Now when it comes to social distancing, please, no, there's no free drink Scottish van driver. The club's going to make a profit. But you might win a vote or something at the raffle with your free raffle tickets, so there you go. Anyway, or I'll get free drinks if you come along and buy me one Scottish van driver. But what do I call it? Anyway, where are we? Aye. If you're not feeling well, mask up, social distance, show a wee bit of social responsibility in your community, okay? And if you're still using NHS lateral flow tests, please submit the results to the NHS Scotland so we can keep an eye on what's going on out there in the community with this disease. Have a nice day. We'll be back tomorrow to do the last one of the week. You guys look after yourself. I hope you enjoyed the show. Bye then.